Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 2250, and we're going to be talking about a new service which is related to Patreon. Patreon is a website and an app that allows creators to share content, and it's protected through, I guess, like a paywall. I don't know what the proper terminology is, but you have to pay to get access to the content. I decided to do this as an offering because I have the one-on-one coaching, which is the bread and butter of what I do and what I really enjoy doing. But in order to make it make sense business-wise, $200 a month is essentially the cheapest I can charge for the quality of life that I want to have in regards to how many hours it takes a week to work, and then how much money I want to be able to earn to help support my family. That is my own definition of balance, I guess, as we all get to decide. What I want to do is be able to make enough money that I can contribute to the health, care, and quality of life of Meredith, and then still be able to lift weights and do things for myself. So I've been overextended by far in the past. When I was running the gym at its peak of in-person training, I was training people in person 50 hours or more a week. I was then cleaning the gym, doing all the financial stuff for the gym, doing everything under the sun, and then still had to try to get my workouts in, eat, sleep, and then want to have some type of a relationship outside of that. It was just absolutely insane. My quality of life was trash. So that I've been there to where a way of saying it is you quote unquote don't care about money. You just pay the basic bills, and then you just give, and that quality of life, although it's can be satisfying in the sense of the difference you're making in the world, you absolutely get destroyed in the process. That was the unhealthiest I've ever been, and none of my goals were being met in life, and it was just I don't know how to word it. The thing I'm wrestling with is, I think in business, customers of business want to pay the least amount and get the most. And if a business owner is trying to make profit from their product, it can be seen as a negative thing. Now, there is a range of that to where I don't think we would want any business owner to be in poverty and to not be able to feed themselves and have to live on the street, right? I think that's, obviously an extreme. That's one end of the extreme. Is you would want somebody, okay, if they have a business, I want their business to be successful for them. I want them to be able to have food when they want food. I want them to be able to have a house when they want a house, maybe a car to drive in. And then you start to say, okay, then there's this middle ground. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there's people who might make, $100 billion. And you're like, you don't need more money. You don't need to be charging people above the amount that makes you more than $100 billion, So what we're looking for is somewhere in the middle of those insane extremes, to where as a business owner myself, I want to be able to enjoy a quality of life. And that's on one end of the spectrum, like kind of the what's for me end of the spectrum. And then what do I provide end of the spectrum is, I want to be able to give the best product I can possibly give at the cheapest price that balances the quality of life that I want, work hours and earnings and things like that. This is a very rambly way of getting there, but I try my best to decide where that midline is. And am I going to get that right based on everyone else's perspective? Hell no. You're never going to please everyone. It doesn't work that way. But I do believe I'm doing an okay job. I'm charging with the intent to charge the least I can, while being willing to work over 40 hours a week. I do work over 40 hours a week, and I enjoy what I do. I love what I do, but it can be very challenging if Meredith and I want to take a day off, or we want to go travel, or I have anything unexpected come up. It's like, crap, I got to find a way to still get that work in, even though all the other stuff happens. Now, that's some people can choose to live that life. Some people have no choice, and that is their life. For me, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with having some work stress. And the reason why I'm saying all of this is at $200 a month, it's a good price for me, and I believe it's a good price for the client in regards to the quality of what they're getting. I do ask clients routinely if they're happy with the service, and the most common summary of an answer is yes. They really like the attention, they like the detail, they like the personalization of everything. Do they wish they could talk to me more? Yes. And that's the challenge I have. Like I had a client ask in one of the recent times I asked for feedback, I said, what else could I do? And they said, oh man, it'd be nice to get like a 15 or 20 minute phone call. And I was like, well, I understand that, but if I were to call all my clients even just once a month, that is 7.5 hours per week. So it adds an entire workday for me to add just a 15-minute phone call to everybody I work with for once a month. So as much as I would love to speak with everybody once a month, in person over a phone call or whatever, it's not feasible given the amount of people I want to work with. If I were to do that, I would have to accept less clients and I'd have to charge more money. And the phone call isn't necessary for them to get better results. It's possibly a better experience for them. Some people do like that high touch, like Meredith and I have talked about love languages. When you think about the love languages that people have in relationships, it can be physical touch, it can be words of affirmation. Some people might like gifts, others like quality time. There's things that people value over other things. Now, when it comes to like a business service, that is still a relationship. Myself to the people I work with, it's a relationship. Some of them value the training content. They're like, man, these programs are kick-ass. I'm really loving it. And they don't need to talk to me very much. Other people, they value the conversation. They value feeling like somebody's in their corner, and they would love to text all day, every day if they could. So I do understand there are different quote-unquote love languages with everybody I work with. And I'm trying my best to balance those. I feel like now at this point I've basically gone into a rant. If you're still with me, thank you. But the reason why I decided to do the Patreon communities was it gives me other options for how I can help people that are cheaper than $200 a month, but they still provide a really good quality. That was an insanely long way to get to that point, but thank you for listening if you have. The Patreon community is what I want to do with it is to be able to provide training programs. They're not going to be personalized. That you'd have to do the one-on-one coaching service to get personalized coaching because of the time investment on that. But you get access to personal training programs, like training programs for strength, for muscle development, for fitness, whatever it might be. And then you get access to a weekly Q&A. You can ask me any question, and I will answer it in the weekly Q&A. So this is a chance for, at a lower cost, to get high quality programming and the chance to ask questions to a nutritionist and trainer. That is literally your question and you get your answer. I think this is going to be a good opportunity for people because what I've decided is to price it at $20 a month for the classic service, which would be access to 20 training programs, brand new each month, and then weekly Q&A. So you can submit questions every week, and I will answer those questions once a week. So you get 20 training programs you can choose from at any point in time. You can download them all, save them all. I don't care. Do whatever you want to do with them. And then you get the weekly Q&A to get personalized education and help. Then we have the trainer membership, which is $50 a month. So the classic is $20 a month. The trainer is $50. You get access to all those training programs, the same 20 training programs, but you also get access to training templates, which will be categorically written training programs. And then you can plug in exercises based on the equipment you have, based on the clients you have, but it gives you solid structures that you can use to build out client programs. You don't have to start from scratch. Like if it says quad exercise, non-spinal loading, you just put in a quad exercise that doesn't have spinal loading. And you just go through and put that in, and then all of a sudden you have great workouts. So I'm going to be expanding upon those templates as I go based on member questions and suggestions. But there might be like a 30-minute fat loss, a 60-minute fat loss workouts, a powerlifting program workout, a bodybuilding type program workout, a fitness one. I'm going to try to put in as many templates as I can over time. It'll be a building library, and I'll just be asking members what they like and then keep adding to it as we go. They also get access to the classic Q&A every week. And then there's a trainer-focused Q&A every week where we talk about business, talk about how to manage client issues, a whole bunch of stuff. So that one, and also once a month, I'm going to see if I can do it more often, but I'm committing to once a month for now, is doing an educational video. I'll pick something based on member suggestions and do an hour-long YouTube video kind of thing that they will have access to. And the first thing I think I'm going to do is talk about the importance of nutrition when you're a trainer, like how impactful that is to your client's progress in the gym and with your programs. And then how do you manage client nutrition? Like how do you coach nutrition? So that's going to be probably the first video, and it'll give you step by step on how I do it, everything I do, and literally you can just take that and run with it on your own. And now all of a sudden you get to offer nutrition services, and that's something you can start to charge for and make money out of. So it's pretty awesome. I'm really excited about both of these options. So I encourage you, if you are interested, if this interests you in any way, go to patreon.com/BrutalIronGym. And then you can see the memberships. You can see what we offer and be able to join. Again, it's $20 a month for the classic membership, $50 a month for the trainer membership. And then all of my one-on-one clients get full access to both memberships. So if you pay $200 a month, you get the one-on-one coaching service plus all the Patreon content. I do believe the value far exceeds the cost. I know that because I've seen the value of this information over my 26-year career. But I hope that if you were to try it out, you would see the value. Right now, Patreon does offer me the ability to set a free 1-week trial, which I did set. If I could make it, longer or modified, I would. But everybody's going to get a 1-week free trial. So if you sign up for the classic membership, you get to try it for a week, see the program, see what the Q&A is like, try for a week for free before you're charged. And then everything's just monthly. There's no commitment, long-term commitment, just month by month you get charged. So hopefully this would be something that people would find value in, they would find interesting. And then paired with today's podcast, I want to basically roll into 20 minutes of what the classic membership Q&A is going to look like. And then that'll directly go into 20 minutes of what the trainer weekly Q&A is going to look like. So the entirety of this podcast, I'm doing this audio segment. It's going to then directly link into the classic Q&A for 20 minutes, then directly into the trainer Q&A for 20 minutes. So you have a chance to get a little bit of a preview of what that'll be like. And then on the Patreon page, you can go see all the details and all there is to find out more about the service. I hope this is something that if you haven't been able to sign up for the one-on-one service due to cost, then this is something that you can use to still get great quality of information and still improve the quality of your life and help you crush and reach your goals. I'm very blessed to do what I do, and I want to be able to share what I know to make a difference in the world. And I think this is another option for me to be able to do that. Cool. Well, I'm going to wrap up this part of it and just let you know if you have any questions, just shoot me an email, brutalirongym@gmail.com. Send me a message on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. And then make sure you keep listening for the Q&A snippets. But if you need anything else, just let me know. I'm always here and I'm always happy to help. And as always, I hope this was helpful and thank you for listening. Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym Patreon Classic Weekly Q&A. So I am going to be looking away a little bit from the camera because I'm having to read my script. This is the first week, this first one for Patreon. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. And you'll have to forgive me to work out all the kinks. So before we get into this week's questions, I do want to say that if you like the Patreon service, make sure you share it. My goal is to allow Patreon to be a way in which people can get help. But add a lower cost option than our one-on-one service, and then also maybe help in a way that better matches what they need compared to the one-on-one service. So if you do like this, make sure you share about it so that way we can reach more people, hopefully help more people. And then as part of the support and followership of Brutal Iron Gym, I do want to always remind people that we have a 10% discount for supplements at NutriCost.com. That's where I buy mine. That's actually why I decided to ask if they would do an affiliate link with me. So I actually asked them. And it's a great company. Everything is very clear cut on what it is. And you can go to NutriCost.com, use the code BrutalIron10 for a 10% discount. And then 10% of what you spend does get kicked back to us as a commission. It doesn't increase what you pay, but it is a good way to help provide, financial help to cover podcasts and the Patreon and different odds and ends. So you get really good supplements, same type of supplement quality that I would use and I use with Meredith and my family. But you get it at a 10% discount if you want to use that. So NutriCost.com, BrutalIron10. And then last is if you have any questions, if you need anything, reach out. Email is brutalirongym@gmail.com. And then you can always reach out on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. Okay, so all that stuff out of the way. I just laugh because I put it at the end of the podcast, but I doubt anybody ever listens to it. So I decided here in the weekly Q&A to shift some of that to the front end. What I want to do today is go through some questions. I asked a few of my clients who are personal trainers and they're my one-on-one clients for some question ideas because I wanted to be able to showcase what the Q&A could be. I want to answer real questions. So I thought it would be fun to ask them. And then all one-on-one clients are going to be included in the Patreon services for free. So this is going to be something they can get access to and use anytime they'd like. Now, this is the classic membership. We do have a trainer membership as well. The trainer membership covers more trainer-specific information. So I'm going to talk about business. I'm going to talk about how do you manage and adjust nutrition and training around clients. So that's going to be more business focused. And since over half of my clients are personal trainers, I thought that would be a great option to provide. So if you're interested in that, check out the trainer membership. The classic membership, which you have signed up for, is meant to give you access to a lot of training programs and give you access to me. You can ask any questions you want. I can adjust anything. I will give you suggestions on how to adjust stuff and answer any nutrition questions and whatnot. It's basically you get a free nutrition, well, not free, I guess $20 a month. For $20 a month, you get to ask a nutritionist and trainer any question you want and get it answered. That is the goal. As of now, I don't have any parameters set for how long these Q&As are going to be. I just wanted to make sure I'm available to answer everybody's questions. So for now, I'm just going to answer every question I get. And then if it's under an hour, I'll probably fluff it up and answer some extra things that clients are asking, but I'll aim for around an hour. And then I'll also ask you for feedback on what you think is a good time frame. If this is too long, let me know. If it's too short, let me know. I want to make sure that you're getting exactly what you want from the service. Okay. Enough of me BS and installing. Let's get into it. Nutrition questions. Should I cut carbohydrates to lose weight? No. And this is also, it's always good when you get weight loss versus fat loss questions. There's a huge difference. So you can lose weight, but it doesn't mean you lose fat. A lot of the athletes I work with, we do weight classes for, powerlifting, wrestling, other sports. So sometimes when we're manipulating weight, we're actually just manipulating water weight, like stored water. So they might lose, 5 pounds in 24 hours, but it isn't fat. There's a big difference between losing weight versus losing body fat. Fat is going to, when you lose fat, you're going to lose some associated water, but fat loss is something that happens very slowly. It's frustratingly slow, but you might work really hard to lose 1 or 2 pounds of fat in a full week. Whereas when you talk about just water manipulation, you can lose 1 or 2 pounds in a day. You can lose that in an hour if you have exercise, intense exercise. So when we're looking at carbohydrates to lose weight, if you're asking for fat loss, should you cut carbohydrates to promote fat loss? You don't need to. Essentially, when you're looking to burn off body fat, you're wanting to be in a caloric deficit. Now, the calories of like what composes our calories, there's 4 macronutrients. Water is one of them. Nobody usually names that because it doesn't have any calories. But the other 3 are protein, carbs, and fats. Protein does a lot of repairing in our body. It builds structures, repairs structures. We don't convert protein to body fat unless it's very extreme cases. And if you're listening to this podcast, you're very unlikely to experience that extreme case because it has more so to do with poverty and food restrictions. But protein isn't something we have to worry about. So when we think about what contributes to body fat, it would be excessive carbohydrates and fats, meaning carbohydrates and fats that exceed what we need. You can think of it as filling the gas in a gas tank in a car. If the car's gas tank holds 5 gallon, I can put 5 gallon of fuel in. If I try to put 10 in, it's going to spill over. It's going to, spill outside of the car, run down the car. It's just not going to fit, right? Well, our body does let things fit. It will expand and basically fill up fat cells to allow excess to fit. The reason why is because our carbohydrate and fat energy contributes to running our body, especially our organs. Our body is, however long we've been around on the planet, you can debate that however you want for religious purposes. I don't want to get into trouble there. But however long human beings have been on the planet, we haven't always had food available to us. So our body had to figure out, okay, when I have, feast or famine, when I have a feast, this is a moment where I can protect myself against the famine. When I don't have enough energy coming in, my organs would shut down and my body would die. So then when I do have excessive available energy, I want to be able to store that. So the body created the ability to store body fat. So that way, whenever we're in moments of famine, we have that stored body fat to cover our energy needs. With that in mind, the body then is designed to store some excess as body fat. It doesn't store 100% excess of what you eat. You do some of it, you just go to the bathroom. Some of it might allocate to extra repairs and extra needs around the body if it's been kind of under allocating those components. But when you're in an excess, there is a larger percentage that's going to go to body fat than if you're at maintenance. Is definitely hopefully minimal percentage, if any, when you're in a deficit. That can still happen sometimes if you eat really large meals. You're in a moment of surplus, even though you're in a deficit outside of those meal times. But when we look at carbohydrates, the reason why people typically think that they need to cut carbohydrates is carbohydrates contribute towards something called glycogen, which is when our body stores the carbs we eat plus sodium and water. So carbs, sodium, and water. It'll store that in our muscle cells for energy. When you ingest more carbohydrates, if the amount of glycogen you can form isn't full, the body will take some of those carbohydrates, the sodium and water, like sodium that's in your food, and then water that you drink throughout the day, or also in your food, and it'll fill up the glycogen stores. Then when you cut carbohydrates, it can't form the glycogen. So it can't put together carbohydrates, sodium, and water because there's no carbohydrates, so it can't create that glycogen, so you have a lot less glycogen in the body. Well, glycogen has weight. Since we store glycogen, which is carbs, water, and sodium in the body, water is one of the elements there, and it has weight to it. So the more glycogen I have, the more I will weigh. The less glycogen I have, the less I will weigh. Glycogen is a good thing. It's very helpful for performance, very good for energy throughout the day, and it also does fill up our muscles. Think of blowing up a water balloon. It fills your muscles up and you can look good and feel full, But when glycogen is emptied, we tend to feel like crap, or we're going to look flat. We're not going to have really good muscle detail and muscle fullness, but you would weigh less. So essentially what people have seen is when their carbohydrate intake fluctuates, when it goes up, their weight goes up. When it goes down, their weight goes down. That is related to the water that's being stored in glycogen in your muscles. So when people see, okay, if I eat less carbs, I weigh less, they then think, oh, that helps me lose fat. That means I'm losing fat. No, you're losing water. So when you manipulate carbohydrate intake, you're actually manipulating water retention. And that same reaction doesn't happen with dietary fats. Dietary fats don't form glycogen. They don't have any component that causes us to weigh more or weigh less related to water retention. So when you manipulate dietary fats, you don't get this immediate response of body weight change. But when you manipulate carbohydrates, you do. That immediate response, any response that's within like a day or two or even 3, is related to water changes, not fat loss. Fat loss, again, takes, like a week to even see just a pound difference. And that's related to how much of a deficit we have to be in order to create that process. Now, I think I've already said probably way too much, but I'll have to get better at these Q&As and making my answers more succinct. So do you need to manipulate carbohydrate for weight loss? If it's literally you just want to weigh less, you can reduce carbohydrates and that'll reduce how much water you store in your body. But is that fat loss? No. When we think about fat loss, you just want to be in a energy deficit, which would be in a carb and fat deficit. How much? Well, we know that about a pound of fat is about 3,500 calories. So if I create a deficit across a week of 3,500 calories, so if I'm in a 500 calorie a day energy deficit, I'm eating carbs and fats 500 calories less than what my body probably needs, then I'm going to burn a pound of fat by the end of the week, 3,500 calories. You can create that deficit by manipulating the intake of carbs or fats. So if you eat 3,500 calories less of fats, you'll lose a pound of fat. If you eat 3,500 calories less of carbs, you'll lose a pound of fat. If you do any percentage of fats and carbs, you'll lose a pound of fat. So you don't have to manipulate carbs specifically if you're looking at fat loss. You can eat whatever amounts of carbs versus fats in regard to percentage of intake that you prefer. So if you really like carbohydrate foods, eat more carbohydrate foods. If you like fats, eat more fats. But at the end of the week, if you want to create a pound of fat loss, you have to be in a 3,500 calorie energy deficit, not protein deficit, but carb and fat deficit. Okay, that was really long-winded, but hopefully that was helpful. Question 2, how much sugar is too much sugar? For what? Like, too much for what? So there's not really any context with that question. So what I would assume is they're going to mean for like health reasons. It depends on what you want. If you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, you probably want as little as possible sugar intake. You can also get away with that by pairing sugar with slower digesting nutrients like fats and proteins. So that way you can still have some sugars like fruits, for example. You can have fruit with a protein or fruit with a slow digesting fat. Think of like apples and peanut butter. And the slow digesting element, the fat or the protein, will blunt some of that sugar spike response. But typically less sugar is better if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic. If you're not either of those cases, sugar outside of immediate energy needs, which would be around like workout times, probably should be minimized just for like managing hunger, managing body fat, managing caloric deficit, surplus, because sugars are easy to eat and they taste good. So it's very easy to overeat when you consume sugar. But is sugar the enemy? Is it the devil? No, not really. I mean, it's just, if you're having sugar problems, like I just crave sugar all the time, I would more so look at the total number of calories you're consuming. You might just be under eating. And if you were to eat more slower digesting carbohydrates, eat more fats, eat more protein, you probably wouldn't have the cravings for the sugar. Typically, when I think of sugar, when I'm thinking of somebody without any medical conditions, I usually ask them to be around 60 grams of sugar a day. But that's considered, you could consider that arbitrary, because if you're looking at somebody who, like myself, I'm 255 pounds right now, I can have 100 grams of sugar, and if I'm having that like pre-workout and intra-workout, it'll have no negative real impact on me whatsoever, assuming I'm still controlling my total calories throughout the day. So it can be contributive towards the carb and fat intake that we have during the day. If I consume too much sugar, contributing to the fat and carb calorie allotment that I have for the day, I'll notice I'm super hungry between meals, and by the end of the day, I'm probably like, ravenous and cravings and overeating. Whereas if you reduce sugar percentage within the carb and fat allotment that you have throughout the day, you'll probably have better sustained energy. You won't have such like highs and lows in energy. You'll have less cravings by the end of the day because the food is going to digest a lot slower, and that allows you to feel more sustained and full throughout the day. So too much sugar, it depends. I don't like it's all individual preference. If you don't have, fasted glucose issues, if you're not pre-diabetic or diabetic, I would say that there isn't really a too much. If you consume quote unquote too much, you'll just notice you're super hungry throughout the day and you tend to overeat, and maybe you don't have your body fat as low as you'd like. So reducing sugar can help calm hungerness throughout the day, and it can eventually help you probably better control your calorie intake, which will allow you to be leaner. So there you go. Okay, next question. What is the ketogenic/keto diet? It would be extremely, extremely low carbohydrates. So you're relying mostly on fats and protein. Ketones is the broken down form of energy when we consume dietary fats. So dietary fats get broken down into ketones, whereas carbohydrates gets broken down into glucose. Protein gets broken down to amino acids. So keto diet or ketogenic diet is more so referring to that your body is favoring using ketones for energy rather than glucose. And it's not that it actually favors that, it's just you're putting it in that situation. By severely under-consuming carbohydrates, your body is forced to burn ketones. And you can actually use there are little sticks you can pee on to test and see the ketones in your urine. And that can actually let you know if you're fully into the ketogenic diet. Sometimes people think they're just doing I'm doing a keto, and you ask and they're actually just doing low carb. The difference is that you can actually test and see the ketosis state, like the ketones that is in your urine, and that'll actually let you know if you're fully actually in a ketogenic diet. But essentially, ketogenic diet is you're just using predominantly fats and protein and really trying to minimize carbs. So in a keto diet, for example, you can actually overconsume simply just vegetables that can keep you out of ketosis. So it's that sensitive that if you are not even controlling the normal things that people think are healthy carbs, it can actually still be too much. Okay, fourth question. How much water should I drink a day? 0.5 to 1 ounce per pound of body weight. There you go. It's a good range. If you're under that range, try to get up to at least half your body weight in ounces of water a day, or fluid. Let's go with fluid. I don't care, and research backs this up. It doesn't matter if it's coffee, if it doesn't matter if it's a non-carbohydrate, non-calorie drink. It wouldn't even matter if it was calories. It's just that's going to contribute to your calories. But how much fluid you need a day would be 0.5 to 1 ounce per pound of body weight. If you're an athlete, you're probably going to need more than that. If you work outside in the heat, probably going to need more than that. But that's a good kind of general range to be aiming for. Okay, next, how much fruit and vegetables should I eat a day? I believe the recommendation is 3 to 5 servings of each to cover your micronutrient needs for the day. Typically, on average, a serving of fruit and or vegetables is around 100 grams in weight, depending on what fruit or vegetable. So it's a ballpark figure. But if you think about, okay, hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym Patreon Trainer Weekly Q&A. This is my first one, so give me some forgiveness as I'm getting through the intros and everything. So what I want to do is thank you, first of all, for joining the Q&A and joining the Patreon membership group. I'm excited for the group, and I want to make sure that it helps everybody in the best way possible. So please submit questions if you like the Q&A. and you want to have your question answered. Now, before we get into that, if you want to submit questions, you can do that on the Patreon community page. You can also send me an email, brittleinjim@gmail.com, or go to our website at www.brittleinjim.com. And then next we have is, if you're supporting us, I want to be able to support you back. So with Nutricost.com, we do have a discount code BrittleIron10 for a 10% discount. Nutricost, where I get all my supplements for me and Meredith, and I tell my family to get them from there too. But it's a great way to get really good quality supplements at a 10% discount. And then whatever you spend there, we do get a 10% commission. You don't pay more for that. It's just a way that, I asked them to basically be an affiliate with them because I like their product so much. And it's something I can believe in recommending. And then I found out they had an affiliate program. I was like, well, it'd be great. I can recommend that to people. They can get really good supplements for 10% less. And then anything they spend gives back to us at 10% of what they spend. So that's a cool way if people want to give back, because I do get people asking that, and people do give donations, which is why we have that on the website as well. So I really appreciate that support very much if you'd like to do that. So I want to make sure that you're aware of that. Again, Nutricost.com, the code is BrittleIron10. And then if you end up liking the Q&A and you like this Patreon trainer membership, like what is available to you, please share it. The more people that know about this, the more people we can help with it, the bigger the community can grow. That's also going to be really good networking for you as a trainer. So the trainer group is meant to be for personal trainers, which is going to be, there's probably some business components. I'm going to talk a lot about business today. Having a large network is extremely helpful. That's something I've actually had magnified to me this past 2 years. So I opened Brittle Iron Gym in 2011. I've been a personal trainer since I was 16 years old. And I ended up going through my undergrad and then at my grad program here at Winthrop University in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I was doing a master's in nutrition. I also got to participate in building out their personal trainer program. And then while doing that, I got an adjunct professor position, so I ended up teaching for 7.5 years. I liked the area. It was fun. It was nice and warm. I grew up in Pennsylvania. It was freaking cold all the time. I hate snow and I hate being cold. So I decided to stay. I had been training people on the side at various gyms and decided, what the hell? I got the, good job at the university, making some decent money. Let me open up a business. I'll have my gym. I can train people there. Then they can also just work out there when I'm not with them. So I opened up Brittle Iron Gym in 2011. I then ran that as a public facility till the end of 2023. So 12 years. And then at that time, I had met my wife, and we got married in 2020. I know, crazy. In 2020. But we got married in 2020. And at that time, the shift from 2020 to 2023, I started just wanting to spend more time with her. Not sharing too many details, but there was family health issues that led to a lot of demand on my time. So I was struggling to keep up with the in-person business. And with the shift of 2020 being where people couldn't come in person, there was a lot more online coaching demand. And I started meeting that demand, and it ended up working great because I was able to help people outside of just the little Rock Hill area, which was fun and exciting. I got people from coast to coast in America. I got clients right now in 7 different countries. So it was just super rewarding and super fun. I started the podcast, and that had been growing. So the ability to reach people virtually was becoming easier and easier and easier. And I was like, okay, well, I'm struggling to get to the gym in person with clients. I'm making more of my money now virtually. And by 2023, I was exclusively working with people virtually, not in person anymore, except for rare circumstances. So Meredith and I talked. We ended up buying a house, and the whole bottom floor of the house, which is a walkout basement, we transferred into the business. So it's now a gym, which you would see in all my videos on Instagram. And I have a nice big, large office that has a massage table and cardio machines and this little area for filming in it. With all that said, I'm getting rambly. Changing over from a public gym to now being in my house, I had a lot of exposure through the clients I work with, but my exposure to general population went to nothing. we don't have general people in our house. So I had to start to develop affiliate programs and work with local businesses, and that's been very helpful to still build word of mouth, get referrals and all that. But having a network is extremely, extremely helpful for you to not only educate yourself and learn and expose yourself to new information, but also to be able to grow your business. It is extremely helpful, and I would recommend that you build your network as large as you can. And one way that you can build your network is through this Patreon service. And if you don't see a lot of people or you don't see the people you want, go get them, invite them, bring them in, and we'll all build that network together. It's a really long, rambly answer, but welcome to the Q&As. This is what I think this is going to end up being, is just a really long-winded, hopefully interesting, hopefully helpful answers to your questions. To get us started, this is the first week. So to get us started, I asked a few of my personal trainer clients 4 questions. So I want to go through what they sent me, and that'll be today's podcast. This week's, not podcast, Q&A. So then if you have questions that you want to answer, make sure you submit them on the Patreon community group or email me at brutalirongym@gmail.com. Okay, let's start with the business questions. We have business questions and client questions. So business, what certifications are required to become a personal trainer? None. You don't have to have a certification. If you want to work at a facility that is owned by someone else, they probably want to know that you're qualified in some way to be a personal trainer. So they may ask you to get a certification. And if that is the case, then ask them what one they want. If they don't have a preference, well, then you can kind of Google, top 3 personal training certifications. And whatever's in the top 3, just pick the one that you like. I know CSCS is a really good one, Certified Strength and Conditioning Coach. That's going to be very good for general population, but also sports and athletes. I have one through ACSM. That's actually what I did when I was, I think, 18, is I just Googled, best personal training certifications. And at that time, it was the highest standard was ACSM, so I went with that. Really, the certification is going to be preferential to what you think meets your needs. You can get a general personal training certification. Like I also have a corrective exercise specialist certification. Clear transparency, I just took the test. I paid to be able to take the test, took it on a Saturday, passed it, and then that was it. But there is like a big long book and a process and a course and stuff you can go through. I was able to do that later in my years of training, so I already just knew the information. So the reason why I decided to do that was I was wanting to be able to build my reach a little bit, and I was doing more corrective therapies for clients, and I thought it would be good and helpful business-wise to get a certification that said, not only am I able to do this for people and they can tell you that it worked, I can also prove that I do know this information, and that way people could just feel more comfortable working with me. And then also, if somebody were to say, like, who the hell are you to do da-da-da-da-da? Number 1, I don't have to answer that. Who gives a shit whether they approve of me or not? But number 2 is if I wanted to, it'd be helpful to have something to back that up. So that's why I decided to get that certification. I have a couple other ones, and those were circumstances where it was just a quick little bit of money, take a test, and passed it because I already knew the information. I'd already been working for like 15, 20 years before I took these certifications, the other ones. The first one, the ACSM, I took initially, and that was great and fun to have. So do you need a certification? No. Is it helpful for confidence and for basic information? Absolutely. Are they really related to what you need to know? Not really. They actually mostly suck. It's just a piece of paper that says you know what you need to know. But what you'll find is when you do certifications, they often focus on things that aren't like real world applicable. They'll talk about, the temperature that the gym needs to be in. Well, if you're a trainer in a gym, you probably don't get to control the temperature. They'll also talk about health risks and all these other things that are kind of common sense. If somebody has heart problems, don't make them go do sprints. Maybe ask them how they're doing first. There's a lot of safety protocol and a lot of stuff in certifications that isn't really useful. That's why I wanted to be able to provide a service like this, is a lot of the trainers I work with, they have certifications and they still have a crap ton of questions. So I want to be able to be available to answer those questions. Okay. How do I start a personal training business? Good God. Okay. And just start. if you're interested in being a personal trainer, you likely have already helped a few people. If you haven't yet, then help some friends, friends and family. And then maybe just put it on social media. That would be pretty much free and easy way to do that. Say, hey, this is my journey. This is what I'm working on. I would really love to be able to help other people. If you'd be interested, let me know. And then that exposes you to maybe one or two people in your network and friends and family. You can start helping them and then start to build up referrals. You can also, wherever you train, if you see somebody, a common face around, say, hey, I'm wanting to be a personal trainer. Like, would you want to train together once a week, or would you have any questions? Like, I'm really practicing my ability to answer questions like off the cuff. Is there anything you ever wanted to know that you would ask a trainer if you could? That's super fun. You can even post that as a question on social media. Just exposure. And then once you feel like, okay, I've done this a little bit, I've helped some people, it looks like I'm decent at this and actually enjoy it, I would then recommend that you be a personal trainer at an existing gym first. Learn on their dime, so make all the mistakes whenever it's their money being cost, not yours. Then as you would do that for a few years, I would then say, okay, have I built up enough clientele to be able to pay rent? And how much would it cost for me to rent out a facility? And then look at the crappiest little hole in the wall somewhere where you live, and you would say, okay, what's rent going to be? What are utilities? Like, figure out all the costs that are involved. You're also going to need liability insurance and all that stuff. So you would figure out the cost of everything and then say, do I have the clientele that supports this? What you do not want to do is think, okay, well, once I open it, I'll get an X number of people and that'll pay my bills. No. No. So you want to have an idea, a way of which to pay bills before you commit to paying those bills. And then from there, it would just be continuing to market yourself and grow and, take care of the clients you have first. That builds referrals and positive word of mouth, and then market to new people. So hopefully that was, maybe it was too basic of an answer, but hopefully that was helpful. How can I attract and retain clients? The clients you have now, just make sure they freaking crush whatever it is that they want. Like, invest everything you have into them, get them great freaking results. That will build referrals. And then whenever you have anything that is like a client success or a positive client experience, post that on social media. So if you want to build and retain clients, make sure you have some kind of personal training page on social media. You can pick whatever social media platforms you want that you like and feel like you can reach to people. So make a business page, and then you want to post client success stories or positive moments. So if a client texts you and says like, workout was freaking awesome, man, I loved it, screenshot that and post it. If you have a client hit a PR, post that. And then you also want to network and get yourself out there. So when I started to want to develop my business in this area of Rock Hill, I taught free lessons at Big Brother, Big Sister programs at high schools. I went and talked to sports teams. I went and did talks at local churches, at drug rehab clinics. I just said like, hey, does anybody need a nutritionist or trainer to talk? I'll do it for free if you just provide somebody for me to talk to. And I went and did that, and that helped a lot. Built a lot of people, built like a little bit of a name around the area so people would come and check out the gym. And then once people were in the gym, then you kind of schmooze them a little bit and say, hey, man, this is pretty awesome. I think this is your third day this week. This is pretty great. What are you working on? And you start talking to them. And if you start helping them provide value, and then that just feels good and you're learning along the way. And then maybe they would say, hey, you do know a lot. Everything you've told me seems to be really helpful. Do you mind if would you be available for training sessions and things like that? So start with just being able to help people and the desire to share what you know, and it'll tend to grow from there. The attracting clients is the social media marketing, positive word of mouth. Make sure your clients are so freaking excited they can't shut up about you. And then retain clients, just don't be an asshole and get them results. So when somebody talks to you, care about what they say, be an active listener. I did a lot of personal development as just wanting to be a better person, but also be better in business. So the two topics I listen to for like audiobooks and read for actual books is personal development and business. Those are really the only two things. I want to be the best version of myself, not only for myself, but that also allows me to be a better trainer. So the more you can improve your EQ, which is emotional intelligence, as well as your IQ, that will help you be able to better retain clients. Do I need insurance for my personal training business? If you're not covered, like through an existing gym, then yes. If you're your own person, yes. If you train people in person, if you do it virtually, that's a little more like you can get away with it, kind of thing. But if you train people in person, hell yes, please get insurance, because if they get hurt or they try to sue you for something, you want to have some type of protection. You can go to really any normal insurance agency, so Nationwide, State Farm, whatever, and just say, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, what policies do you have, and they'll give you different options. Should I specialize in a particular type of training? Should you say that you only would work with people in that category? No. But you can show your expertise in an area. So if you really like, rehab and prehab, post a lot of stuff about that, and people will come to you for that. But if somebody's like, hey, do you happen to know about fat loss? Be like, hell yeah. So say yes to anybody that wants to give you money, and then figure it out and learn how to do it. Specializing can help, because people within that, well, number one is if you're really excited about that topic, it'll come through in the content you make and what you share people with and how you work with people. So you want to make sure that you're doing what you enjoy doing. If you don't enjoy fat loss, don't do fat loss. If you don't enjoy rehab, don't do rehab. So do stuff you like. And then specializing is pros and cons to that. You may hear business-wise people say, the more niche you can get, the more you can charge for what you do. It's only if anybody gives a shit about what you know. So you can become more niche as you would grow in notoriety. So maybe you only have the capacity to manage, say, 50 clients at one time. Well, if you're full demand and there's still people coming to you and asking for questions, you can start to say, hey, these are the groups of clients I don't really like working with, this category of client. But if this is the client category I do like, then start to shift more into the things you like, and that makes you more specialized. But if you have the capacity to train 50 people and you only have 10 right now, don't specialize. What the hell are you talking about? Don't do that. Show everything you can possibly know, everyone you can help with, and that'll help fill in those slots more. Okay. What are effective marketing strategies for personal trainers? Well, what do you have to give? Time or money. If you have a lot of money, you can pay for ads on Instagram, Facebook, all the other ones that are out there. But those are two that are going to be commonly used, and they tend to have a really good return. And then you really don't have to pay for, you can produce pages and content for TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff, YouTube. But if you want to promote them, that is one marketing strategy if you have money. If you do not have money, and then that means you have time, or you have to find time, because it's easier to find time than it is to find money. I would then go offer to do a lot of free stuff, a lot of speaking engagements. Just get yourself out there, go meet with people who are in similar businesses. So the affiliate programs that I set up aren't with other personal trainers. It's with chiropractors, physical therapists, massage therapists, mental health professionals, people in related health fields where physical training and or nutrition would correlate to what they do and help improve what they do. So those are people you want to network with, talk to, get exposure to them, offer free pamphlets, free information, go work with the owner, say, hey, can I just train you for a month for free? And if you're happy with that service, would you then recommend it to your clients? That kind of stuff. That's going to be the most effective. Is if you have money, pay for advertisements. If you don't have money, use your time and go out there in the world and give of yourself and your knowledge, and that'll get a return. How do I set pricing